going to be trying to keep his eyes on once more if BLG opt into this heavy dive composition.
And it's actually really surprising to me here that HLE is banning the Skarner on blue side. It's opening up a ban to me for BLG because oftentimes that's something that you would just see first picked if Yone Aurora are already gone.
And I think the reason is because you've got the Xin Zhao that Shun has been willing to bring out as an answer to it, right? So at least you have some answers, but Jax being banned away by Bin is really interesting. Maybe expecting that to be the first pick here.
That's what that tells me, actually, is they were expecting a Jax.
Whoa!
So they did the trade ban. And this is crazy, actually. Sylas was my pick for what's going to be the really defining pick for the rest of the World Championship. It ended up just getting banned yesterday. And here's why I think Sylas is strong. It's because so many of the meta champions actually have really good ultimates, so I think teams are going to be willing to just pick it early. I wasn't expecting a first pick Sylas, though.
Yeah, I think it is basically a call-out, because I thought they'd ban the Ahri away from Night, but basically saying, hey, look, we don't care if you have the Ahri, we already have a good matchup into it. I want to see, though, what they decide to pair with this Ahri, though, because traditionally you want something that's a bit more, you know, AD focused and can pack a punch, but Vi is exactly that champion coming through.
Exactly right. And now, with AP coming out of the mid lane, it becomes much more difficult to pick that Morgana for the jungle, because your mid-jungle duo then gets a whole lot weaker with that damage profile. Peanut is a huge fan of playing Morgana, though, so we'll see whether he does pivot over to that. Nocturne up and available, though. There are a lot of things here, as there is the Gnar lock-in for Doran. To be taking that one away, we saw yesterday the Gnar be such an incredible pick, and Doran is no stranger to it.
I also wouldn't be surprised to see the Ezreal taken away here, just to say, hey, look, I want this self-kill for myself. I've already got the Vi that's coming my direction, and Ahri as well, and I have a composition that wants to join in. Unless you are looking at something like a Xayah, that could be the potential here as well for Viper.
I would think that you would see Sejuani here, but it's a locked-in Poppy, and it can actually be a flex pick.
I immediately thought Peanut, but you're exactly right. Could be Delight.
Most of Worlds, we've seen the Poppy as support. Delight has 2 Poppy games already, and lane swap could be a play for this.
If I was BLG here, though, I'd take the Ezreal, or, well, it looks like they're going to go Rumble, but essentially just ban away engage supports, because either Peanut has to take that in towards the jungle, which is okay against what's on the opposite side, or you're just getting Delight off of things that he's been incredibly comfortable. So even if you want to go a Rell ban, Leona ban, and look to take the Rakan yourself here as BLG, I think you've set up for a really nice dive composition with great follow-up as well.
Exactly, and we saw Ezreal find a ton of success yesterday, in part because so many teams are dominating with dive composition. So we were thinking that we might see higher and higher Ezreal priority, but now also in this phase of the draft, we have a mismatch at the roles that have been locked in, if I'm assuming that that Poppy is a support. So we'll see if BLG target bans the junglers with the next set.
And the thing that's really interesting about Sylas as well is it does deter you from picking champions like Ashe that have sort of game-breaking ultimates, just because Sylas uses it and it does a bajillion damage as well. There are certain things that can be kind of warped by what's being decided here in just the first pick.
I am curious as to what the plan is here for Hanwha Life, though, because I thought you'd actually see them trying to like take an Ezreal for themselves, but with the Kai'Sa ban and already the Xayah gone, it nearly is inviting BLG to take the Ezreal. So maybe they have something in their back pockets of, hey, we've got some answer to an Ezreal, which is a late game scaler, or we just don't have to operate in that mid game with you.
Yeah, I want to see some range to come out from Hanwha Life eSports, because right now they don't have a whole lot of it at all. Maybe if they do go for that Ezreal pickup, then it could be something like a Caitlyn picked up into it, another conversation that we had earlier on. They are going to play it safe, banning away the Ashe, of course. Elk, phenomenal Ashe player just in general. So many of AD carries really have been gravitating towards this pick, though, and we'll see what Elk is going to do. The Ezreal just does feel a bit like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Ezreal taken away, but I've been trying to ponder what you could go on the opposite side, and I don't know if it is something like, hey, we're maybe going to pull out like a Senna that was talked about as we were coming into this tournament, but we haven't really seen, but instead just going to try and take away Delight's main engaged champion.
And with Ezreal being up, I think Viper will play it. The other thing that I know isn't that popular is Mosquito Jhin, because you already have so many divers and he can stay really far back. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we end up seeing Elk on Jhin to pair with the Rell.
There is a lot of damage on the side of BLG, so maybe we don't mind it as much, although I am definitely not exactly a Jhin enthusiast.
The other option is a Miss Fortune, which when you've got so much lockdown and kind of AoE engages, that could work out very well, but you are heavily enforcing this mid-game spike for yourself as BLG, which could work out, but Otherwise, if you can't burn down Hanwha, there's just so much DPS and self-heal.
And it is actually the Poppy getting flexed to jungle, so the Sejuani ban ends up being burned by BLG. We'll have to see. We haven't seen much jungle Poppy here, and you're right, Dag, it's the MF.
Yeah, Miss Fortune going to come in. Does feel like a bit of a dangerous game for MF. Although you don't necessarily have sort of the classic counters in things like Leona that can have a really long-range solo flare to interrupt you and things like that. But there is Gnar, there is even the ultimate coming out from the Poppy as well that can get up to a decent range to knock her away. Certainly interruption available. But HLE definitely feeling real brawly with this composition and so much damage and wombo coming out of BLG.
Yeah, I think BLG kind of spike off that 1-2 items and need to take over that game in the mid game. Otherwise, you do end up falling prey to the Sylas just getting too tanky, the late game Ezreal not being able to get locked down really by the squad, apart from maybe the buy. But I think you just have great opportunities to play out team fights as this game goes on later. But like, off of 2 items, BLG could just rock you at any second.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, these Ezreal Alistars do opt in for the lane swap, but it is now time. Let's jump onto the Rift for game number 1. Hanwha Life eSports taking on BLG, our second quarterfinal. And I cannot wait to see who's going to be able to draw first blood in this series. HLE on the coveted blue side, so it does feel like they're the ones that really do have to draw first blood in this one.
And you can already see they're setting up for the lane swap, but I think this is smart from Hanwha also with the champion.
Yeah, Zeka already finding an angle onto this Rumble, not quite getting the stun, the heroic charge not quite working, and down to 100, but he'll walk out, no flash needed.
This is huge though, wait, they might keep going here.
They're tanking.
All right, Zeka's just gonna dive underneath, doesn't find the chain, there's the headbutt for the kill. They have to throw the kitchen sink out, Knight's gonna trade one back. Oh God, the flash, they just trade places and he keeps walking. All right, it's a 1-for-1 in the end, everything's even, just a calm early game, gentlemen.
We have to take stock of who got the kills though. It's a kill to Knight's Ahri versus a kill to Delight's Alistar. That's going to be favoring in BLG, and I think Peanut is going to be kicking himself a little bit because if he flashed for a better angle on the initial E, I think they kill Bin before the dive.
Yeah, but now I'm kind of curious as to what the hell the plan is, because you can see Bin already moving down towards this bottom side. On is here to get on towards Viper, but Doran's returned.
Oh, it's a mess.
Doran's going to make his way up, throws the boomerang out, the crash down there from On to get him out of the way. I think it is a good time to remind everyone that Knight is pretty good at Ahri. His win rate, 51-10, has an 11 KDA or something around there, and he is extremely good at this champion.
I mean, this was the champion that he started to make his name on with the murder book that he loves to pick up nice and early, but we'll have to see if he's going to return swiftly to try and pick that one up. But we've got back to standard lanes now, and honestly, I think that's a big win for BLG. Not only do you get Knight off to a great start, you actually get the matchup you were looking for as well.
And I think, especially with Delight having no flash, it's going to be a top lane that they can push in fairly free. I do think we're going to see a swap back fairly quickly as soon as they can get the right recall timings, but for the current time being, BLG has great lanes.
Yeah, plus the TP advantage for Bane is going to help out massively as well. He can pick up an early advantage for himself off of the reset, so for BLG, this is kind of the best start you could hope for. It's just now a case of can they try and move forward into the mid game with that strength, and with a composition where they can play sides with Knight on this Ahri, I think it just unlocks On so well, and this is kind of where BLG found that success against G2, and they're looking to replicate that here against Hanwha Life.
They push it in, they're getting an early recall, and I actually think they might be swapping down. The original point of the lane swap where you'd have the 3-wave stack into an early dive is gone, and actually they're just going to take that cull by and immediately run back up top lane. So they had the tempo here to do whatever they want. You can see MF running out back to top lane, but On is going to have a move on Rell with flash, and he's going to be a solo support on the map here.
Yep, Zeka clears out the mid lane though, so there is at least some tempo available there. Something that BLG have always played really well around though is being able to get first move on the map. So looking forward to seeing what they can actually utilize with it as Elk does make his way back up towards that top side. Teleport back in from Zeka in the mid lane. Of course, Knight previously doing that. And Zeka, very, very good playing these melee champions and just staying even on farm. And it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, especially against Knight's Ahri that is so very, very good, keeping that health bar down. But as I say that, he's got some friends. The charm is going to connect as well. Peanut and Delight are trying to get in here in time. And we'll see whether they manage to. Able to dash his way out. No chains necessary. And it looks like Zeka will be okay for now.
Yeah, On had that angle, but he did such a long wraparound that Delight and Peanut were able to offer enough assistance that BLG wasn't willing to fully chase into the river. So a nice look, but ultimately it's not going to result in anything.
it does buy space for Knight in this mid lane, and also kind of gives a lot of control of what BLG are looking for. We heard Shun in the opening saying, I want to try and target the enemy jungler. I want to try and put Peanut behind, and I think a large portion of that is going to be trying to get these wards in towards the enemy jungle, which you can already kind of see starting to set up on this bottom side of the map. And a lot of that is how are Shun and On going to work together. So having these small advantages with Elk having push in top, with Knight having push in mid, is going to open up for BLG to put that pressure onto Peanut once more.
Yeah, and now another push in here towards the top side of the map. The Miss Fortune, definitely very strong in the early game, but I think during this tournament, a lot of us have gone off the hype train when it comes to the MF, as this siege certainly starting to work out. I love this conversation about junglers though, gentlemen, because Peanut is on exactly the jungler that Peanut fans want him to be on. That is someone with a heck of a lot of utility and CC. The ability to farm camps and get strong, not as important for this guy, and we'll see whether he can make use of it in the ways that he has domestically. It's made him so incredibly terrifying throughout this season.
And I think it's really interesting to see how Shun has come out on towards almost counterpicking himself, going towards the vibe, but giving himself that opportunity to go toe-to-toe with Peanut once more. This was the matchup we watched for BLG and Gen G so often last year. MSI went to BLG, Worlds went to BLG, but Peanut looking for that revenge, and it's not Wei who's opposite him. BLG up back in towards Shun to see if they can find some of that success once more with the change in jungle.
Absolutely, but I will also say that BLG has pressure everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of whether or not they can convert it, because at the moment, HLE is absolutely on the back foot. Bin hit level 6 first, altered the wave, got an incredibly strong amount of tempo on his reset, and now we just need to see what the next play is. It looks like they're going to forego the dragon and just rush everybody into this rift scuttle right away. You can see Rumble and Ahri already deploying.
Yep, you can see Delight. Level 4, as Vault Breaker being charged against Peanut. Level 5 already over here. You can see everyone converging on BLG. These grubs should belong to them, but we'll see whether Zeka can say anything about it. Yeah, they have to get out of here. There is no shot for this one. Maybe try again with the next pack, but this is not yours, HLE.
And this advantage for BLG comes back to Doran having to blow that teleport level 1 to get down to the bottom side. Bin is able to roam up towards top side off of that nice push. He then teleports down to the bottom wave to pick up the majority of it as well. And it means you're in a totally fine spot. Sure, he lost a little bit as it hit the turret, but in the grand scheme of things, BLG are just happy to get that advantage for themselves.
He loses a couple minions and 1 plate. That's absolutely worth 3 grubs early, and I'm actually pretty surprised that we still have these duo lanes top. Nobody really wanted to blink first, but it's resulting in a very slight lead here for BLG, but honestly, we haven't seen this game break in any meaningful way yet.
And if everyone stays up towards the top side, when are we going to see our first dragon? There are pings going down onto it. I think that the teams are also asking that question. BLG possibly heading over there, but this could be a really late first rig.
Well, as our resident Australian, I assumed you'd be able to inform us how Australian lanes operate around dragons and things like this. I was relying on you for.
Well, I mean, it's just the opposite. It's just upside down, man. We're just the same as everyone else. Don't you worry. Our voices sound a bit weird, but that's about it. Okay, that's a flash pulverize. Headbutt comes back on to On. He's going to get knocked up. Zeka finds the chain, and he's got the Spirit Rush as well, so there should be no way out here for On. Zeka picks up the first one after our shenanigans in the level 1.
And that is so big for Zeka, and Peanut with the control there. It's a play that happened on his side of the map when BLG was trying to play with their pushing lanes and actually get some type of deep vision. They punished so incredibly well. Zeka with the kill.
And this was something that we talked a lot about coming into today was, hey, how does On operate on BLG? He likes to go for these off-timers, likes to kind of play this bluff game as he gets vision and tries to encourage you to either back off or over-aggress when he has backup. But, hey, Hanwha Life just called his bluff there and he gets caught. Now, nice, might be the same.
Yeah, could be in a little bit of trouble. Does have everything up and available. There's the Spirit Rush, but has to invest the Flash as well.
I mean, at the time right now, BLG's probably going to be able to get that Drake, but that's such a cheeky play by Peanut and Zeka. That was no ultimate on Sylas. Being able to actually force the flash on Knight there is pretty nice, because otherwise that's a play where they wouldn't have been able to do anything. They still get a small win in the trade.
I think you've also now set up an opportunity for Hanwha to really look for a play with Peanut, using the fact that Doran has that teleport advantage. Oftentimes when you get to about a minute 30, Peanut will operate on towards a gank somewhere on the map, and it means that then post that gank, Hanwha only have to play off of 2 lanes, and it makes it way easier for them to focus down some of these objectives. And with just that minute and a half cresting now on towards the Void Grubs, I wouldn't be surprised to see Peanut make some sort of gank play top, hope that Doran can TP in, and just get that advantage then for yourselves.
All right, I'm looking for a bit of an angle, but the Shattering Strike not quite long enough there. Needs just an extra little bit on the Lance, unfortunately. So they are just going to push this wave in, and everything's kind of settled down. A minute until the next grubs do spawn, and we'll see whether Hanwha Life eSports are ready to fight around that one. One thing that we do want to say is a positive here for Hanwha is the fact that top lane CS, not something worth talking about at all. So far, Doran hasn't been killed multiple times in lane against Bin.
Australian top lane CS.
Yes.
Because I was looking top lane at the AD carries, and their CS is also
Oh, you guys aren't hanging upside down?
Yeah.
Oh, that's how we do it in Australia.
Yes,
so if there is a lane swap, you just hang upside down, and then everything looks absolutely fine. Reading's a bit more difficult.
I mean, honestly, my biggest takeaway from the first 10 minutes of this game is that we're in for a good series. The fact that these are the #1 seeds from the LCK and the LPL in the quarterfinals is a little bit crazy to begin with. We have so much potential revenge in this matchup as well, with Doran, Peanut, and Delight getting eliminated by BLG last year in the quarterfinals, wanting to come back and beat them. Zeka being on BLG 3 years ago in the LPL. We really do want 5 games. We would love to see it. It's so rare that we actually get to see LCK #1 versus LPL #1 at Worlds. It's only happened 2 times in Worlds history, so it's surprisingly rare because one team might actually boom and be out early, or one team is so dominant. So the fact that this is close is encouraging to me because I want 5 close games.
And that's my favorite thing about this Worlds is that it's up in the air as to which team is the best from these regions as well, based on performance here at this tournament and in their playoffs as well. You have to remember, Weibo just qualified for the semifinals, but they went 0-6 against this team that we're watching right now. So things don't make a whole lot of sense, but that should be 4 grubs going over to BLG. Will they make it out, or will they go for the team fight? That's the question. The teleport coming on in already. Knight is going to back up the rest of the team. Hanwha Life eSports taking control of the pit. Delight fumbling the engage a little bit. Magnus Storm comes through with Viper, trying to fight off Shun, but it's Zeka that picks up the first in the team fight. Shun down solo. Doran is leaving them on the floor, and there's the ultimate. Zeka says, you can be Vibe and I'll steal your ult, I'll just be better. Knight now just trying to escape, but everyone on HLE is chasing after them, and that is the team fight that won them the LCK, and they're bringing it here to the quarterfinals.
The wombo combo was a no-go for BLG, and Hanwha punish exceptionally, getting Viper to safety and then fighting back against BLG.
And it might just end up being a Zeka diff. He wasn't up in CS, but he's first to kill in all these fights. I think the big decider in this fight, though, was how much was burned. Watch Viper on the left here. BLG was hoping to be able to one-shot him, but the elusiveness of this Ezreal completely just stops the follow-up from the ByCC.
Oh, the buffer, yeah.
Knight and Shun burn everything and are ineffective, and then the Miss Fortune ultimate doesn't do nearly enough damage. Then Zeka can just obliterate them. Doran is doing Gnar damage all around the upside of this fight, and the 4-for-0 kind of out of nowhere is a massive win for HLE.
And it's just a disaster for BLG. The fact that you have to try and play off of this early spike and you've given so much gold across the Hanwha Life sets up this 3-kill Sylas now to be such a massive threat on a side lane, and just make it impossible for BLG to really play their style of game that they want to.
And the last thing there is the big spikes, the big one-item spikes for BLG actually weren't there. We didn't have Knight's Malignants, we didn't have the first item for Rumble, and we didn't have the Bloodthirster for Miss Fortune. So BLG really wanted 6 grubs, but they're probably kicking themselves. They didn't just say it's a 3-3 trade, get early vision around the Drake, get those item spikes, and then start going towards the Soul, because now they're in a world of hurt.
I want to see how BLG adapt, though, coming into their next fights, because clearly going on Viper was not the call there. He has so much mobility. It is incredibly difficult to lock him down in an area where BLG can actually manage to close the distance, especially with Peanut on this Poppy, but maybe Doran is the new target for Shun.
Yeah, if in doubt, gank Doran seems to be something that a lot of teams have caught on to, as he's going to flash, looking to try and escape this one, gets underneath the turret. Now the Vault Breaker comes down, the Harpoon is going to skewer him. So there's one back for BLG.
Nice gank. It will end up giving them gold, but not much else. They just burned 2 ultimates with the Hextech Soul open, so it was generally speaking them just thinking they weren't going to be able to win a
Hextech Soul, but unfortunately, we've only had 1 Drake, so it's not quite there yet.
sorry. Hextech Drake. They were going to lose a 5v5 at Drake anyway, so they made a fast play top lane, got some gold, and overall, smart play there by BLG.
And I think in a micro situation like that, Hanwha Life eSports aren't going to be too worried. Probably being able to pick up this Drake with all that positional advantage that they get, they're going to be very happy with. 1 second, and in fact, up right now is the Herald. so they can head over to Shelly and see whether she wants to help out as well.
But that's why I think this just snowballs into Hanwha getting this. You've just invested both of your top sides in ultimates to try and make that play happen. So if you look at the mini-map, I think Shun is instead going to try and make a play on this bottom side. On is showing on a ward though, which I think is going to at least put some manners on Zeka, as he will just get on out of there, not wanting to deal with any members of BLG on that bottom side.
Yep, having a look at the lane economy snapshot, you can see Shun doing a decent amount here up against Peanut, but Peanut's Poppy does not need gold, and also Elk, having cashed in that cull, is still doing okay when it comes to money. However, everybody else, it's all just HLE favored, especially that 600 gold on Zeka's Sylas. Now, if you weren't watching Worlds in 2022, maybe you're a new fan of League of Legends, this pick was pretty good for Zeka when he did the whole winning the World Championship thing. So him being fed 3-0-2 right now, that is a big deal and something that BLG fans need to be worried about.
And I think it's incredible to see Zeka's journey over the course of his career. The fact that he got handpicked by Coma to come across to Bilibili Gaming, said, this is my guy, this is the new protege. And at the time, he was the Akali guy, he was the Sylas guy, but over now this time, he is just sprouted into this incredible player that has so many different champions, can play a multitude of different styles, and is now putting the hurt onto BLG on what was his signature pick to begin with.
And I think they might be trying a dive play on Zeka right now. He's respecting it. I think Zeka is a great example of success not being linear, because he peaked so hard at the 2022 World Championship, winning Worlds, and then was not nearly as good as people expected him to be the next year in the LCK, but has continued to work on his game, was actually very successful in the AD carry meta this year, and I think today is a better player than he's ever been, despite actually having that world title in 2022. So I can't wait to see what the future holds for Zeka.
Yeah, I think the way that they sort of approached winning Worlds and what that meant for that DRX roster, I think they knew it was a miracle. As that's another charge.
There's a play.
Doran looking to try and get out, does have the hop, gets over. There's a fade away. Decent ulti there from Peanut, just for the disengage, but a teleport going to be invested. Knight lands the charm and says, all right, we'll take a TP. You guys can get out of here.
They do lose the wave on bot lane though, because that's where Zeka was starting to shift over to. So I think that's why we saw BLG back away. Obviously Hanwha escaped quite a bit, but they're still losing small bits on the map. But you can still see both these squads immediately want to find any little advantage that they can. The double TP invested and try and make something happen.
And I actually really want to credit BLG in this moment, because it was such a disaster at the second grub fight. The game is actually in a very stable state at the moment. Only down 900 gold, tied in Drakes. They've hit the item power spikes. They find little looks for these plays, and it's still going to be absolutely anyone's game.
They also managed to get the Void Mites, right? So they do have those 4 grubs. So even though it was a catastrophic failure there as far as the team fight, they still managed to get the objective that they were looking for. So now that we're back onto even footing, and especially with the fact that the tempo feels like it has now moved back towards BLG after a couple of little plays, Hanwha Life eSports going to have to find another one of those moments if they want to get themselves to a solid advantage, despite the fact that the gold is still in around the 1,000 advantage mark.
You can see how BLG are trying to play this though, constantly shifting on down towards this bottom side and faking that pressure around mid lane because he's hiding out of vision. And it's Doran this time around who respects that, he backs away. It was Zeka literally a minute and a half ago, and BLG haven't found this footing to continue. So team fights still, Hanwha can come alive, especially if Zeka's able to complete this second item. Not for things like Dragon in a minute's time, but certainly at Baron in 2.5.
Elk is going to find Delight here. I was wondering whether Delight knew that that ward was there, because he was playing like he definitely did. Not going to be able to clear that one out. Still, the horse position known now, so BLG will be able to make some plays around it. And now we're back to some normalcy. It's not this weird Australian lanes that we were presented with earlier in the game. It's now 80 carries in the mid lane, and we are just setting up our side lanes to see who can make things happen once again in that top side.
Doran doesn't want to fall for this twice. 40 seconds until the next Drake spawn. Feels safe in the top lane. Shun was going for the look. That Scryer's Bloom caught him a second ago, so they definitely know that it's there, and they're going to be able to now get a little bit of early vision on the Drake, unless Doran walks in a bit too far, but he should be completely fine.
Yeah, knows exactly what's going on. Now just hide under the safety of his turret, but with On and Shun in the area, Shun making his way over. Yeah, with Knight, they should be able to crash this wave. And I don't think that anyone on HLE is going to be able to get over here. True Shot Barrage is, you know, a decent attempt, but it's not going to save it.
And this is where the power from Miss Fortune really came alive. It's not the fact that you see 3 members on top side, it's that she gets control over mid wave and allows teams to get 3 members on side lanes. And Shun on able to rotate there because you've got so much control for Elk. And it's just setting up now for BLG once more to push mid. They rotate down. Peanut alone on the Dragon though.
And that's amazing here for me for BLG. They almost cheat it. Normally when you make a play topside, you're trading it for Drake, but Peanut doesn't do any damage. So he can't actually take the Drake on his own. And now BLG has ran all the way back across, and they're going to look to contest this as well.
Yeah, Bin on a great flank angle here as Peanut finds himself alone. There's the flash out, but the follow comes through. Chains are going to connect there from Zeka, but Peanut, I think he's not long for the world, and there he goes. Doran, that Gnar is looking absolutely gorgeous, but the boomerang is not going to find the mark. Looking for the straggler there as On is just going to back away. Throws out the drill. Knight is at a 3rd health for some reason. I think something happened off screen as now HLE, yes, they lose their jungler, but they do get control of the river.
Knight does have the TP to come back into this, but I think with On resetting and the flash on Elk burnt, they're just going to try and back away. But Hanwha are doing the same. Not really certain that they can just go for it when they don't have a jungler.
Yeah, that Dragon is still undecided who it's going to fall to. Peanut's going to be able to respawn, run back here. I feel like that was so masterfully done so far by BLG to be able to kill Peanut on the backside and then escape. And they're seemingly not interested in the Drake, but they've been trading up over and over again. This team was down 2,000 gold 7 minutes ago, but their macro has been so immaculate that they've made it into a slight gold lead.
And I think this is why picks like the Ahri, like the LeBlanc that we saw for Knight are so vital to this squad. It gives them that opportunity to try and play through side lanes, allows On to start rotating around the map, and especially for a player like Knight, there is so much pressure on him coming through from the LPL. This is the Chinese mid laner, the mid laner that started in the LPL, grew up in the LPL, is now getting to be the face of the LPL that could actually win a world title. Whereas when you look back, it's always been those LCK players that have come across the LPL that have won titles for them. So he is kind of the face that has been gifted across from Xiaohu to Knight to show up for the LPL. And having that desperate Swiss stage really does put a lot of pressure on him to step up once more.
Yep, you're exactly right. Although I feel like Doinby is more of an LPL guy out of those mid laners that have won. We'll take Rookie, although you probably won't give him back. Okay, BLG now pushing down towards this bottom side as Zeka will catch that wave for now. And he's been a little bit more quiet. 2-item spike has now been hit. Got the dash cannon as well as that cool helmet that gives you just so much ability power. See what the 3rd item is going to be for Zeka, because right now it feels very offensive with his item choices. HLE now just grouping around this Baron, and I wonder how they're feeling about their composition, because looking at these 2 teams right now in a vacuum, these 2-item spikes that are coming in makes BLG absolutely terrifying, and I feel like HLE, as they get to like 3, that's when they're feeling like they might be able to weather some of the storm.
I feel like you're absolutely correct in that take. BLG is extremely strong right now with their ability. Anybody that they pick, they're probably going to be able to one-shot. But I do feel that the Sylas, Ezreal, and even Alistar Gnar are a little bit inevitable if this game goes long enough. So still so much league to be played. HLE has to be a little cautious with how well BLG has been able to set up these side lane traps. And I think they're doing a pretty good job so far. This is a great game.
It does feel like Hanwha are trying to set up a trap for themselves, though, as you're starting to shift that vision down into this bottom side, seeing if they can pull BLG in and just catch someone on a side lane, even giving that space to Zeka as well. But I think Hanwha have been doing a good job, as you say, of just matching a lot of that pressure from BLG. We haven't seen the presence of On that bottom side of the map actually gain anything for BLG in a lot of this.
Yep, a lot of wards still surviving here in the Baron Pit as well. So BLG with a lot of information that is just sticking around. So don't need to be too worried about the Baron at the moment. Peanut taking a bit of damage here from Knight, I believe just found a charm and an Orbit Deception. Otherwise, it is just going to be a reset. And this could be on vision here from Delight as well, as BLG know that they can walk in, try and take control.
And this is where I want to see Hanwha be a little bit more tempered around these Baron takes. We saw in the FlyQuest series that oftentimes they'd start these Barons and just get caught out despite the 3,000 to 4,000 gold leads they gain for themselves in some of those gains. So I think giving the respect to BLG, just setting down wards, not actually starting up the Baron, respecting what this squad can do if you find yourself in a Baron pit. is good to see from Hanwha.
It's such an interesting game, though, because like when I look at the vision here, it's so respectful. Like there's not much red ward past this point, and there's very few blue wards past this point. So no one really has the deep vision with which to make a play for, because the few times we've actually seen teams go deep in enemy territory, that's when things have kind of gone wrong. So we may just be waiting for the next objective to pop up, and then we're going to see some real action.
I feel like we've got the perfect Baron pit for it as well, because that sort of draws that line for you, has the exact line across, and you can see that's exactly where those wards are. As, yeah, we've reached a bit of a lull state, as we say in the LCK.
I think we're looking at Peanut, though. I'm keeping my eyes on this bottom side of the map. That vision that was set up already could lend itself to some sort of dive towards Bin, but the pressure from BLG on the mid wave, drawing Peanut and also Delight back in towards that mid. So you can see it's like both teams are trying to set up for these plays, but it's the fact that you can't really get your foothold yet is what's causing so many issues.
And we were talking about the 2-item spikes for BLG, and I think that that definitely eclipses HLE on the whole, but Viper's hit his 2-item spike. And that means that this control of the mid lane that we've been talking about this entire game long might just swing in favor of the Ezreal that's already just poking BLG out, as you can see here.
He's a machine. And also, we have a stopwatch on Zeka's Sylas, so he's going to be more unleashed to make aggressive plays. I think that item alone actually makes him such a bigger threat onto Elk's Miss Fortune, because he'll be able to get back there, then buy time for his cooldowns to come back, and then likely finish the execute. So even just those item spikes coming through allow HLE to get a little bit of map pressure back.
And the fact as well that you've drawn so many members of BLG to mid lane means you get that push in the top side for Zeka, so he's going to be able to contest Knight on this wave. Set yourself up for a nice reset timer, then move over towards the Dragon that's about to spawn in 10 seconds. Zeka even has the teleport, and the fact he already has that Seeker's Arm Guard, like you pointed out, means he doesn't actually have to reset. So now Knight has to answer for that push in the top side.
Doran just lurking here with his Gnar bar relatively built up. You can see Shun just missing the Vault Breaker, unfortunately, on the Rift Scuttler, but shouldn't be too much of a big deal. Peanut's going to come on over and pick that one up. So some vision that's irremovable around this Dragon. That's going to be sole point for HLE if they can get it. And they are starting it up immediately. Bin there, though. Equalizer at the ready.
They have such good position right now on this Drake. BLG's going to have to hard force in. The Arya is on a flank, though.
Yep, the Gnar bar is now in perfect position here for Doran, though. BLG, can they actually stall this one out? That's going to be the question as Knight. He throws out the ultimate. The chains are going to miss. He's just dodging Zeka. That's going to be Peanut. He just says, goodbye, Mr. Jungler. I'm the one with the smite now, and he will be able to secure it. And HLE, they can just back away.
Great vision from Hanwha. That wards that were already set up on this bottom side, spotting that the Shun was going over the wall. They get Knight out of position as well, and just able to take that one nice and easy without having to draw blood. I'm going to be very happy with that one.
I love the shot from Peanut, too. Direct hit on Divide. No actual chance for a Drake steal. I'd say there is even a little bit of fortune from BLG when Delight's headbutt knocked Knight away from Zeka's Sylas chains, because they might have been able to get his flash or maybe even kill him. So BLG was definitely not set up on that play as early as they would have wanted to be, and HLE being one Drake away from sole point puts him in the favorable position in the match.
Yep, I'm very happy that we're seeing Peanut on this Poppy as well, because it's been one of his best champions for a really long time. I think him and Owner have been the best Poppy players from the LCK over the last 3 years or thereabouts. I think Owner has had some of the better recent games, but Poppy was always just that, Peanut was always just that guy that's been able to make this champion do some amazing stuff, but hasn't really been gravitating to it more recently. It's good to see it as there. Speaking of which, heroic charge, and there goes Knight! Blink and you'll miss it, and the Ahri is just dead. Now Shun's gonna face check it, Zeka that finds him, and he's just dashing around, making sure the enemy jungler cannot get into this Baron pit, and I think with just one pick, they'll be able to take this Baron after one ultimate takes them a Dragon. Will we get another team fight? The answer might be no unless BLG find an angle here. There is a two-man Magnustorm. They're off the Baron now as the bullet time does barely anything. Equalizer is gorgeous, but the Baron goes over to HLE, and I think that they should be able to disengage with just a little bit of stake left on the ground. Is on. Oh, you're by yourself, buddy. He should be taken down. It's the ultimate from Peanut. Says, all right, we'll just take two of them. Set up the kills as Elk goes over the wall. Doran almost just dies as Zeka has to flash to get himself back into the Baron pit. And now I think that disengage that I was calling for, 20 minutes ago, is going to happen.
What a brawl around this Baron. It's a phenomenal pick from Hanwha, hopping over the wall, getting Knight. But BLG thought they saw their window of opportunity to come back. but dodging and ducking and diving away, Hanwha bring it back.
And just Peanut. That's
Yeah,
this
man.
entire sequence to me. It's just Peanut. He starts the Baron a little bit. Knight then wants to check because he's suspicious. Flash, stun, one shot. But then, as the entire fight continues to play out, Zeka's zoning the Vi out. There's a slow contest by BLG, and you'll have to watch for Peanut's ejection to save HLE at the end.
And again, it's Hanwha playing off of these small pockets of vision that they've managed to set up. They've been doing a great job of getting early to these objectives, sticking a ward over a wall, getting into a position at a dragon, and it's been catching people out. And as this fight went on tries to go for the play, but again, you call it jab. Peanut's ultimates have been absolutely spectacular, and it is destroying BLG in this game.
Absolutely ridiculous stuff. Of course, just a bit of a reminder, we have some proof that Peanut's pretty good at this champion, as he's 28-9 on Poppy just over his entire career. Not quite his Maokai stats, but Maokai's less interesting. His Poppy's really cool. Let's see how the siege goes.
Yeah, now they need to use this Baron to actually blow the game open because they found these small picks, but BLG has been able to secure so many minions and just passive gold that there's actually not a big lead here. They even cleared that wave pretty easily. 1/3 of the mid turret being down at 30 minutes. And
good reaction there from Peanut, but he's not going to be able to react to the charm. They managed to lock him down to the bullet time, getting a fair bit of value. But the pulverize is huge. Delight knocks up 3, and the rest of HLE will knock the rest down. Ben is told to leave. Viper chasing him out at night, and his top laner are the only ones left alive unless Viper has something to say about it. He gets underneath his turret and gets out. But man, that was looking like it was going to be BLG, and Delight says no.
Delight's Alistar is different. That was such an insane engage to turn that one around. It's not great for HLE in the net because they still lost the push in the mid lane. That was a 2-for-3 fight, and their Baron will be ticking down, but from the start of this, it looked like BLG had completely repelled it.
It's so hard to take down Peanut, though. The Locket of the Iron Solari and that Cane of Rooker, and just gives him so many shields that he can look to play around. And they do get the pick, but everything was invested there. Bin is not in position. They go for this ultimate, but Zeka has the Ariel to get out. And Delight, the flash pulverize straight to the heart of BLG. And there's just nothing left in the tank as Hanwha tear them to shreds.
And you can see there are certainly some dejected faces on the side of BLG after that one, but they are still within 1,000 gold. There is nothing in this at all, but it's now Ocean Soul on the table for HLE, and BLG do not want them to get it.
10,000 damage goes fast on that Drake. BLG has to rush this play.
Yep, Zeka on a flank angle now, clearing up vision RBLG. They are in the fog of war for the moment, but can they actually get here in time is Shun nowhere near the pit, and Peanut's going to be able to lock that one down. Now Zeka dives into the backline, Knight out of there with the Spirit Rush, but so is Zeka. They're able to take down the Horse Lady before the fight even really starts, and there is another 1-2. Shun's just taken down. The Rumble gets one, but it's Viper that's laying down the Mystic shots. He gets a double, but who cares? It's an ace for HLE.
BLG can't set up, and Hanwha are giving them a big old hug with all these melee champions.
What year is
BLG
it? Is it 2022 again? Like, I don't... Zeka hasn't been doing this all year.
Zeka Sylas always arrives. You can't short sell Viper though.
Oh, yeah.
606, 330 CS at 32 minutes on this Ezreal. The Baron buff is down. I don't think they can end it here, but my God, did they break this game open.
Certainly did. They break the base open as well. Mid lane outer turret will finally go down, but the inhibitor on the bottom side of the map as well. This does feel like a real gut punch from HLE for the first time this game.
And the last time we saw BLG go up against Doran, Peanut and Delight, they beat game 1, they took game 2. It was Gen.G having to find success to come back into that game to push it to game 5, but here, Hanwha do not let up.
And you can just see that BLG is scattered with their approach. Shun's Vi is trying to steal along the backside. When he doesn't get it, Zeka just buys an insane amount of time. And he's just so incredibly mobile with that Ahri ultimate. He doesn't even have to use his arm guard at all the entire time. The Miss Fortune is hopelessly useless with how much mobility HLE has and the ability to disrupt the ultimate. It is impressive to watch.
Yeah, the way Zeka just goes in, draws 3 people's attention, and then sacrifices half of his health bar and goes out again, right? And they can make that re-engage happen over and over again with BLG out of position.
And this man first picked it.
Yeah.
He just blind picked the Sylas. Is like,
Sylas
give me
was
it.
the
I'm going to
first-
take over. This is good.
He was the first tech champion to be introduced into League of Legends, I think. Like, you see good ultimates, you pick Sylas. You know, you need the door open for the... No, I guess not. That's not the way.
It's going to be a threat for the rest of the series if you're willing to just lock it like that and have it pay off. The other crazy thing is that HLE blue side banning the Skarner, but it's because Peanut wanted to play Poppy, right? He's like, if I see the right angle, I'm going to hit him with the jungle Poppy. So both of those draft gambits have been paying off big time for HLE here in Game 1.
And it's not only that, it's the fact that it's a flex pick as well. You can move that towards the bottom lane if you see an adjustment in the draft. So even now going into Game 2, you're not getting free information necessarily if that flex is going to come through. But now Baron back up on the table once again. And BLG looking to try and set up their 6,000 gold behind. And it's an Ocean Soul as well as Peanut. He comes out. There's another two-man bolt. There goes Knight. He just doesn't get to play the game here in game number 1. The bullet time actually getting some value, but they just sidestep it. Bin not allowed in, not allowed to do anything at all. That equalizer is still up and available from the death chamber as Doran somehow almost surviving. It is going to be the Gnar falling, but it's HLE that'll march towards the Nexus and look to close game 1.
The ace may not be clean, but the fight sure is from Hanwha. Beautiful flank, beautiful stuff, and a beautiful game 1.
HLE absolutely showing up.
And there is the first Nexus to go down in the series. Kind of down to the draft, not going to lie, but it's Zeka's Sylas, it's Peanut's Poppy, it's engaged for Delight. And with all that comfort, they roll over the top.
And HLE remembers what happened last year. They popped the Gen G emote at the end as they're killing the BLG Nexus. 2 more, and they get their revenge.
All right, but ladies and gentlemen, you can dominate the